Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you a brand new episode, part 4 of What If Naruto Was Gilgamesh Reincarnation. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, yes, I indeed have 4 more channels. I'll be leaving all the links down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode, shall we? Let's begin now, guys. So, to do a bit of a recap from the last part that we left off, the council was about to have their meeting with Naruto to discuss what had happened in the Land of Wave. As Naruto came in there, more prepared than any of them thought that he actually was. Yes, he was ready for every accusation and everything that they had to throw at him. However, he was rather disrespectful, especially towards Koharu, something that she did not appreciate, which led to a lot of bad discussions. However, he made his case rather clear. There was no one else in Konoha that could do what he could do, so it would classify as a bloodline. And not to mention, his mother was a Uzumaki, while his father, last name, did not belong to any special clan. The Uzumaki clan was a very powerful and special clan, so there wasn't anything they could tell him about restarting his clan within Konoha that would boost Konoha economy. He also used political standpoints on how he saw the opportunity that he couldn't allow to pass by, because there were other clans in this village that had outside sources with power. As they realized that the child was no ordinary child, especially thinking wise, as he was able to get off scot-free, because he was prepared for everything that they had to say about his situation. And Naruto would be selling them goods, yes. Just because he's a part of the village does not mean if they want to purchase goods from him when the village start to grow in status, yes, it would not be free. So he told them that rather clearly. Some time passed after that, as we find Naruto within the Land of Waterfall, where he proceeded to annihilate Suyin, an enemy that had plagued the village. All of Suyin's people remain, as the guards of the Land of Waterfall was coming to either put them to death or to imprison them. So Naruto gave them an offer to switch loyalty and work for him. In the end, they chose to work for him rather than being placed in jail or fight and get killed by the overwhelming numbers. So yes, he was storing people away. We then skip some time as Naruto was watching his basic mansion be built. Yes, explosions under the ground to cause a large room to be opened up. He already had the floor plans. Even people from the Land of Wave was here as well, the builders, as they were building something spectacular in the upper district of the Hidden Leaf village. As Naruto made his way, Kakashi wanted to meet with them as he ran into the Sand team. That is where Kankuro realized that Naruto was not someone to be trifled with, as he did not hesitate to send Kankuro flying. Without even using any effort at all, Temari was surprised until she realized who this was. His features and name has been going around the entire elemental nation, from what happened at the Land of Wave to him taking more larger notion to publicize himself by telling everyone who he was. His name was circling all around the elemental nation, the son of Minato Namikaze, Naruto Namikaze. Once Naruto left them, he felt something. As he made his way, Yugito was surprised as well, as Naruto asked her who she was. Her teammates stood there, looking at her. Something was not right. She could sense it. When she looked at everyone else, including the Hokage, she saw nothing but, looking at Naruto, she saw two powerful auras surrounding him, as he could see the same for her, and no other that he ever came across possessed these auras as well. Naruto was interested. It's been a long time since he showed actual interest in a person, so this was something rare to see. She herself was interested to know who he was, as she soon realized after noticing the marks, remembering what the Hokage had said, as rumors had been going around. He told her that he was looking forward to seeing her within the exams, as Karu and Amoy asked her what the hell was that. Some time passed as Naruto meet up with Team 7 as they made their way. Rock Lee decided to challenge Naruto, which was a mistake as Naruto hit him with a hammer that completely knocked him out cold. Making his way inside, Naruto was about to release the full weight of his bloodlust on the individuals, but he saw a girl. His eyes was able to see everything, and he saw what she truly was. Her teammates tried to act all powerful in front of Naruto, but he told one of them that he would end his life in the forest. He did not even blink or stutter when he said so. Upon making their way, Naruto disembarked from his team. He gave Sakura a blade, telling her to use it if their life becomes in too much jeopardy, as Naruto made his way. Her teammates were watching as Karin was being chased by a bear, as they were using her as a bait to get scrolls. However, the bear was destroyed by Naruto, and the same guy that he promised that he would end. He left the other one alive to go back to the land of grass and tell them that she's a Uzumaki, and if they have any problem with her becoming a part of the village, they can come and talk to him. But it was a conversation that they would not like. Karin was surprised, as Naruto, he wanted her to be a part of his clan. He was also a Uzumaki. She knew that she was one as well, but before her mother passed, she told her not to tell people about it. The Uzumakis were rare and sought after by many, so to keep her protected, she told her not to spread the information. As she accepted Naruto's offer, he took her with him. As Sakura had thrown the blade, Sasuke was bit by Orochimaru, the mark cursing him as Sakura threw the blade when Naruto arrived. The Sannin found himself shocked as he had to jump and move away. Naruto blades coming in fast. One of them hit him and froze his body as he had to swap. His body was destroyed, frozen to a degree that he couldn't even understand. However, he was under the understanding that he was going to win today when he looked up to see the heavens parted. A shock look all over his face. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it for yourself. So we jump right into this brand new episode, shall we? Let's begin now guys. Leaving the village and coming to Konoha to take part in the Chunin exams. Karin never thought that her life would change this drastically, so fast. She never thought that her life would change so quickly. She accepted his offer to join the Uzumaki clan, to get away from those people at the Land of Grass. Karin was a powerful sensor. Even to a degree, she could fixate on someone's emotions by feeling how their chakra resonated when they spoke. And his words were clear. There was no false in his tone. What he said was what he meant. As she looked at him, more so though, the heavens, his arm was still wrapped around her waist as she held on to him tightly as they were standing in mid-air. Karin looked up as the sky itself seemed to open up, a beautiful golden portal. As tips of blades started to emerge, she could not count the numbers. Down below, the Sannin Orochimaru found himself at a loss. Orochimaru's instinct was to quickly take the child down, but then his head was removed. by weapons that were so fast. He was caught off guard. Then he was hit by another, and his entire body froze up, forcing him to switch. Now here he was looking up at what truly shocked him, never knowing or never thinking that a child could possess power like this. His words were resolute and serious. "Begone, you slimy piece of garbage." With a simple wave of his hand, the weapons descended down at incredible speeds. However, it was the aftermath that truly shocked everything. When they collided with the area, there was an explosion, unlike any other anyone within this forest has ever actually seen before. It was supercharged, each weapon releasing a blast, all of them combining, all of them possessing unusual abilities and forces that some Naruto did not even know. When they collided, it was truly something incredible. The first one to witness this after Naruto and Karin was Sakura, who was holding the unconscious Sasuke. Her eyes went wide. This was not something she could outrun. This was not something that she could dodge. She felt hopeless. Were they going to die? She watched as a shockwave was destroying everything. Trees uprooting the earth. Everything was being destroyed. However, right as it got close, a golden spear appeared in front of her, revealing a shield. Yes, a large golden shield. It suddenly dislodged, moving and turning. It wrapped around the both of them like an armor, which collapsed, breaking off the branch, falling down to the ground. Despite the force that was released, it would not move. Sakura could not see anything. Inside was dark, as she could hear what was going on outside, but they were completely protected. She simply clinged on to Sasuke as she held him in her arms. Meanwhile, they were not the only ones. Countless teams turned their gaze when they saw it. Bodies were launched. Some, unfortunately, did not make it. The backlash alone, destroying them in the process. The Kumo team came to a stop. Yugito could see it, despite the distance, as they felt the explosion. Immediately, the other two were not put on their guard, despite the blast that they felt, but she was completely serious, holding her hand out. Her blade materialized, almost like magic. She gripped onto it. The blade was not on full display. The Excalibur was hidden, covered by wind. This was no ordinary wind. It was a special technique of hers that would stop her opponent from discerning the shape and the size of the weapon, causing mass confusion in a battle and also not allowing them to assess the true danger that they were in. Amoy's eyes widened as Karu spoke. "What the hell? Both of you, stay where you are. Don't move a muscle," she said. She raised the blade into the sky, waiting at the right moment. While Naruto's eyes were special, her instincts were top-notch. She brought the blade down with her eyes closed, releasing a violent force that split Naruto's backlash in half. Her hair blew, so did the other two behind her, but they were completely unaffected. The entire path, split to both left and right behind them, were destroyed, but in the center, they were completely unharmed and untouched. As she stood there, her blade disappearing in her hand. "What the hell was that?" Karu spoke. "I mean, who in the exam? What genin has enough power like that to generate this?" she said with a disbelief, confused look on her face. Amoy, thinking the exact same thing as well, trying to understand who the hell did that. As Yugito gazed out, her gaze was focused and fixated, far down. However, a smile A small smile tugged at her lips, as she seemed quite happy for some reason. Time skip. The aftermath finally settled down, as Karin couldn't believe her eyes. She knew that he was strong, but this was beyond what she was expecting. She knew who Orochimaru was. She did not know him personally, of course, but she heard that name before. He was one of the legendary Sanins. There wasn't much that she had to do within her village, so she tended to read a lot. She knew of the Sanin, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. Orochimaru was a traitor. People say that he's a really horrible person. Other than that though, she didn't really know any much more. She looked around. Is it over, she said, before glancing back up towards Naruto. His calculated red gaze fixated down on the ground. He escaped. Karin was surprised to hear that after all of that, the Sannin escaped. Well, she shouldn't be surprised. He was one of the legendary Sanins, but there was no way that he was unharmed. And she was right. A distance away, a small white snake could be seen making its way. The snake did not stop until it was a far distance away from the Hidden Leaf village. Before it came to a stop, its mouth grew large, its jaws unhinged. The snake proceeded to spit something out. It was a human body. However, this was no ordinary human though. It was a Sannin. But he was in a bad condition. His right arm was gone. Chunks were missing out of his left. Both of his legs were gone. The Sannin spewed black blood out of his mouth. His blood had become tainted. Orochimaru had spent years trying to craft his body to be the pinnacle of human evolution. However, those weapons were no ordinary weapons. He tried as his might to get away and dodge, but their speed and the explosions, he got caught up in it. At the last moment he was able to escape, but not before receiving several wounds from those blades. One of them that hit him started to mess with his regeneration, as he found himself unable to even heal himself quickly, and his body was in a constant shredding pain, and he was coughing up black blood. The Sannin was in a miserable, humiliating state, done so by a child. If you could only imagine how much that shook his pride. It was bad, extremely so, as he lay there in his blood and mess. Feeling agonizing pain course through him. There was only one face that was on his mind right now, and it was that damn Namikaze. Rage, vengeance coursed through his heart, his black, cold heart, to make the boy suffer beyond his wildest imagination. Meanwhile, Sakura watched as a strange orb that she and Sasuke was stuck in opened up. Standing there was Naruto, with a strange girl, her arms wrapped around him. She picked herself up. What the hell was that, she said, trying to understand what the hell was going on. Naruto opened his mouth to say something, but a malicious feeling swelled, swallowing the entire area. Now normally, it would take a while for the curse mark to take effect and bond with a person, but the moment that Sasuke was reintroduced back to the main world, away from Naruto protection, the backlash of Naruto's power, it triggered the Uchiha, speeding up the process. What would have taken a full day happened in mere moments. The overwhelming power around the Uchiha made him feel incompetent, weak. Therefore, his will was much more susceptible towards the curse mark. Sasuke's eyes opened up as he pulled himself up, a purple aura leaking from his entire body. His gaze fixated on his hands. He started to whisper and talk to himself. You could hear the giddiness in his voice. Sasuke-kun? Sakura said, trying to move towards him. However, he snapped his gaze up towards Naruto. The look in his eyes was one of pure malice. "You," he said, "always acting like you're better than everyone else. Like you're better than me. But you're not. I'm an Uchiha." "You're nothing," he said. "People saying that I'm on the team with the Namikaze like you're something special. But you're not." Sasuke was having a crisis at the moment, and the curse mark was feeding off of that. However, Naruto simply scoffed. Pathetic. His words pissed Sasuke off even more. "You allowed yourself to be conquered by another man's will. I always thought of you as weak before, but now, you're just plain pathetic." Sakura's eyes widened as she saw the look in Sasuke's gaze. Sasuke got no. However, he took off. Karin's eyes widened. However, Naruto's arm was still securely around her. As she felt his grip tighten slightly on her, Naruto caught Sasuke's fist right in his palm. The Uchiha did not stop there though as he twists. He lifted his leg and brought it down. But Naruto's super speed behind him and gripped Sasuke by the back of the neck. As I said, pathetic. He drove the Uchiha face into the ground before he picked him up and threw him slightly as he turned and slammed a kick in his chest. Sasuke was sent spiraling. He crashed into a tree hard. As Naruto receptors that protected him on will, it appeared around him and shoot forward. As Sasuke opened his eyes, he was hit from all over with lightning. His body collapsed down on the ground as the marks receded. Sakura rushed over to his side. "Don't worry," said Naruto. "He's not dead. After all, I still need him for this part of the exams." She looked down towards Sasuke, wanting to curse at Naruto for what he did, but it was a mark. It messed with Sasuke's mind. As Naruto looked down towards the Uchiha, who started to move. The shocks were not powerful enough to damage him badly. Therefore, he woke up rather quickly. Sasuke looked at Sakura confused, as she was all over him. "What's going on?" "Where are we?" he said, confused himself. She looked towards him confused. "Don't you remember? You attacked Naruto." "What?" Sasuke glanced up wondering who was that girl, but his gaze looked towards Naruto. "I don't remember that," Sasuke said, not quite sure what they were talking about. However, Naruto simply turned his gaze away, finally releasing Karin, as she realized that she had to do the same. She stood by his side though. "It's time for us to leave," said Naruto. "Wait, what about the scroll?" Sakura said. Naruto pulled out the heaven scroll that they possess. "Remember, we need a earth scroll in order to leave." As Sasuke slowly picked himself up. "I don't think that would be a problem," said Naruto, as he turned his gaze forward. The sound team, who was hiding watching the group, realized that they were caught. Time skip. Watching Team 7 enter, with 4 members instead of 3, was rather confusing to most. Well, the tunings that were on standby watching. Uncle Midarashi had entered the forest some time ago, in search of the Sani Orochimaru, after finding a grass ninja without a face. And she was searching for him, but she wouldn't find him. As for the tower within the Forest of Death, examinees were barred from leaving this spot until they were given the authorization to do so. Many information about what happened within the forest was not known by Anko or Harrison or the others, as Naruto did not say anything, and Sasuke was trying to recollect what happened to him, and Sakura was worried. So they did not speak to anyone regarding what happened. However, at the moment we find Karin telling Naruto about her past. He wanted to know, as he sat there and listened to her words. Her past was a sore subject, but he wanted to know who she was. And she didn't know why, but she felt like she could trust him without even knowing him fully yet. There was just something about him that made her feel like she could trust him without a doubt. So she told him who she was. Her life was not a good one. The trials and tribulations and problems that her and her mother had to face until She was alone. Once she was finished, as she showed him her arms, that she always tried to cover by wearing something long. It wasn't just her arms though, her entire body, covered by bite marks, as they used her as their pawns to heal their wounds. His gaze was piercing, while her eyes were red. His were more dominating. His next words sent her for a loop. "Would you like me to annihilate them?" he said. She did not even know what to say. All that came out was, "What?" "I would go there to the land of grass and slaughter all that has ever harmed you," he said to her. For a brief moment her mind thought about letting him do that. However, the next second, she realized that that wasn't a good idea. What was she even thinking? He has been kind enough to offer his home and help her. She didn't want this to cause any backlash between him and his own village if he might start something for her case. "No, it's fine," she said. "Why?" he said. "I don't want you to get involved in something because of my behalf. But that is not the case anymore. You are now a part of the Uzumaki clan, a part of my home, one of my subjects. Therefore, your trials and problems are also mine as well. And people who I deem important enough to stand by my side, I will not allow any in this world to try and overcome or bully them." The genuine care that he spoke with, despite his tone sounding bland, but she could see otherwise because of his chakra, the overall power that coursed through him. She started to tear up. Her body moved on its own as she hugged him. It's been a long while since someone actually cared for her, since someone had her back. It's been a very, very long time since someone looked towards her as more than a supply, a goods, something to use. So she couldn't help it. She broke down in tears, holding on to him. The next moment a light enveloped her. Karin pulled back when she saw her arms. She was confused. What did you do?" "I merely linked myself to you for a brief moment," said Naruto, "and my skin can never be truly tainted or remain blemished for a long time. Therefore, it reacted by purifying your body as well." Karin watches all the marks vanish away from her. Words flutter through her mind as she remembered them saying that these marks was a sign that she was their property. But now, it seems like Naruto broke that mental chain that was wrapped around her, freeing her. Once again, she hugged him, as she couldn't even let go. She learned a lot about him that day, why he spoke to her with genuine understanding, and yet everyone else, he spoke to them in a way that did not show that he cared. It was rather simple. He did not. For those who he did not see as someone that he could even respect, he spoke to them like they did not matter at all, and he truly just did not care for them. That meant he cared for her, seeing her as a part of his pack, being one of his people. She was important. She was important to him. Time skip. Bloodlust reeked the entire place. 5 sound ninjas were mutilated, their bodies discarded and torn apart, as the place was still swallowed by the wave of bloodlust. Standing there, in a full body mirror was Orochimaru of the Sanin, not a shred of clothing on him. His body had been healed up. It took a damn long time, but he was finally healed up. That was still remarkable given a normal person wouldn't even have survived. There was a problem though. Orochimaru had 2 nasty scars on both of his right and left arm. A nasty slash that had healed over on his chest. Nasty marks where his legs had been removed. And the worstest one yet was the slash going from the right side of his face, coming down towards the left cheek. It didn't matter if he healed. It didn't matter how much he tried to get rid of them. They imprinted on him, something he did not know how it was even possible. It was one of the weapons that was used. It was like a physical curse that could not and never be removed. These marks were a reminder that he was bested and he was wounded. For the first time in a very long while, what he thought was to be his perfect form, never to be blemished by marks or scars, could not return back to normal. He was unaware if, switching to a new host, would return his body back to a purified state. He did not know. Unfortunately, he already did the process, so these scars would remain on him. Even after taking someone's face, it didn't matter what he do, they would simply emerge, showing that he was forever marked and never to be forgotten about them. The Sannin was furious. In his rage, he slaughtered his own people without hesitation, without blinking. He took them down. He was so angry, so wrathful. He wanted to find that boy. He wanted to gut him and rip him apart with his own hands. And he will. He will make sure that the child suffer. He will make sure that he felt pain. Pain that he never thought even existed. Pain that he never could have even imagined. The bloodlusted Sannin releases chakra, messing with the entire place, causing it to quake and shake as he releases frustration and rage. Time skip. Word had been sent to Hiruzen as he was here. However, it was after the 5 days. None of his subordinates were able to find a glimpse of the Sannin within the forest, but Anko was certain that it was him. It was only when she arrived back and she saw Sasuke Uchiha with a mark. Now it made sense to Hiruzen that huge explosion that he had felt. He figured that Naruto was responsible. Sasuke Uchiha was marked. Anko spoke about getting him out of the exams, but there were many people coming to see Sasuke partake in the exams. And if the boy was removed now, his chances of going to the finals were going to be 0. Hiruzen decided to let it proceed, informing Kakashi about sealing the mark right after the preliminaries. Anko was not so sure about that. Having lived with the mark, she did not like this one bit. Confusion marred Hiruzen's face though, as he saw someone standing beside Naruto. Someone that he did not recognize. The person was not wearing a headband that was the first giveaway. A red-haired, red-eyed girl with glasses. And she was standing unusually close to Naruto. And Hiruzen knew that Naruto did not like people invading his personal space. So who was she, he thought to himself. However, he decided to go along with the proceedings. Down below, Karin figured that she shouldn't be down here. But once again, Naruto proving that he did not care about what they suggested, having her beside him while the members down here were going to participate in something else. However though, the past few days of spending here with Naruto, she learned a lot. She learned how truly powerful he really was. The fact that he had so many abilities and yet he never used them because he has not found anyone worthy of using anything truly dangerous. The fact that he could say that after using those blades to destroy that huge part of the forest, you could just imagine how truly powerful he was. But he did not find anyone that he would overexert himself on. Almost every single time that he fought, he held back majority amount of the times just to see how far the person could actually go. And now they were here. As Hiruzen spoke about a special exam, the numbers were too great so they had to cut them down. Majority of the teams here were Konoha, but the Sand team was also here as well. The team from the Sound, Naruto, had not killed them. With a simple wave, he had scared the living daylights out of all of them. When a blade had generated at each of their skull, It frightened them, knowing that the next move would end their life. So they had their stroll over and ran. They came in just short of the time because they had to get 2 scrolls. And the Kumo team was there as well, as Yugito knew that he was the one that caused all of that mayhem during the Forest of Death, and for some reason, his power, it didn't scare her or bothered her, despite the orders that they were giving. On watching and seeing the progress of the Konoha ninjas, his power excited her very much. Once all talking was over, the reins was handed over to Hayate, as Anko was there as well along with the Jonins. Her gaze was focused on the young Uchiha, wondering if the mark would be able to override him, if his will was strong enough to push it back, as she had nightmares still about the mark that was situated on her. Hayate started to speak about the preliminaries and what was going to happen from this moment on. He asked for those that could not participate, and Kabuto Yakushi raised his hand and left. He said that he was still injured from the forest. Sasuke was the first match. As the others made their way up, Anko watched the Uchiha carefully. During the match, Sasuke was having a hard time using his chakra because the mark was trying to take over, but despite his opponent being able to drain chakra, Sasuke was still physically faster than him. He used that to his advantage and performed a triple combo on him before slamming him down in the ground, coming out on top. However, the mark, it was spreading halfway through the match, but he pushed it back. But it did take a great toll on his body and having some of his chakra steal away. Kakashi was there the moment his match ended to take him away. Up in the stands, Hiruzen gaze looked towards Naruto. There was no doubt in his mind now that red-headed girl was with Naruto. Reasons. He was not sure why, as he spoke to some of the chonins that were here, who said that she arrived with a group. She was not counted as someone that passed. When questioned about this and why was she there, Namikaze simply told them that it was none of their business. They had tried to follow up, but they were unsuccessful, and given that there was no outside interference, Hiruzen was not told about this. As Naruto stood there and watched the rest of the matches take place, they were really boring. Just a waste of time in his opinion. As Sakura made her way down there, Kakashi returned, as he took notice of the girl, which he wasn't able to ask Naruto earlier. So he did now. Her name is Karin Uzumaki, said Naruto. Kakashi was surprised. Another Uzumaki. Where did she come from, he asked. The land of grass, said Naruto. Another confused look seemed to pass through Kakashi one's gaze, as he wanted to know why was she here. He did not voice his question though. I liberated her from that place, said Naruto, and now she's a part of the Hidden Leaf Village. Well, more so a part of my clan. Kakashi blinked as he wondered if he was hearing correctly. Wait, are you saying that you kidnapped a shinobi from another village, and now you're refusing to let her go? As you can see, she's quite comfortable in being here than going back to that place. And she's a Uzumaki. And as the now head of the Uzumaki clan, she's my clansman. So anyone that has something to say about that, or if the Land of Grass wishes to try and make a forceful action, they will have to deal with me, as the head of the clan, said Naruto. His gaze was resolute, as he looked towards Kakashi. The copy ninja knew that this was going to be a very hectic future problem, but now was not the time to talk about that. Does the Hokage know about this, he asked. As far as I'm aware, no, said Naruto. Kakashi sighed once more. He's going to want to know right after this is finished, he said to Naruto, who did not seem to care that much about what he says. As Sakura ended up tying with Ino down there, causing Naruto to look down with disapproval on his face, but he said nothing. Finally, his name appeared on the board, as the other ones started to shuffle. He was going to be facing Zaku of the Sound. Karin wished him good luck as he made his way. However, Naruto stopped as he turned face to face with Yugito. I was looking forward to fighting you within this exam, but it seems it is not to be, he said to her. I suppose we will meet each other at the finals. She tilted her head. You say that as if there's not a chance of you losing here and now and not being at the finals. Your joke is rather amusing, as if I could lose to something like that, said Naruto. However, I hope you stand by your actions and make it to the finals as well, he said, looking at her. The others watched. His gaze swept over her like he was checking her out or something, but that was not what he was doing. She herself was doing the same for some reason. There was something rather odd and strange whenever they interacted with one another. It was the first time that Karin was seeing it, as she wondered what was going on. Took your little time coming down here, huh? Zaku said. However, Naruto simply ignored him. Hey, I'm talking to you. This is not going to be like what happened in the farce. You think you can just humiliate someone like me and get away with that? Hey! He shouted at Naruto once again because Naruto was still not looking at him. Are the both of you ready? The proctor asked, as Naruto simply nodded his head. Zaku clenched his fists. Yeah, I'm ready. Alright, begin! Zaku held both of his hands up. Let's see how you feel after this. Combining both of his hands together, he released a violent wind attack that ruptured the air in front of him. It shot towards Naruto before making contact. Everyone was surprised that Naruto did not even try to move. He simply stood there, unbothered. He simply turned at the last moment to look at Zaku when the attack proceeded to hit. A large dust cloud was kicked up. As this dust started slowly dissipated, Zaku was laughing. That's what you get, you cocky bastard. Believing that you're better than me. No one is better than me, he said. Pathetic. Zaku was surprised as Naruto was still standing there, his arms folded. People like you aren't even worth the effort that it takes for me to speak, Naruto said, looking rather bored as he stood there. Is that really all the power you could muster? Because if it is, you should think about changing your profession right here and now. You are not cut out to be a shinobi, let alone speak to me like you are someone better, or that you are better in any single way. In actuality, you are nothing. Zaku clenched his fist in rage. I don't know how you're still standing, but you're going to regret your shut your mouth, said Naruto. Enough talking from you. You arrogant prick. You think you can tell me what to... I told you to be quiet, said Naruto. Zaku was cut off for good reasons. Many gasps could be heard as many people looked down surprised. A blade was now jetting from the back of Zaku's head, having torn right through his mouth. Blood started to gush down as the blade vanished, before another appeared to the side and took his face clean off, the body collapsing down on the ground. Naruto stood there, as he did not even have to move. Many were appalled by what they just witnessed, more so shocked. As Naruto stood there, the proctor, having to take a moment to adjust himself. None of them were new to death, but this was the first death that was happened here in front of them all. And it was a gruesome way that Naruto did it as well. However, this was the exams, and they signed a waiver that their life could be taken. So Naruto was declared the winner as he made his way, his gaze fixated on Yugito, as hers looked at him as well when they passed by one another. Naruto stood right beside Karin as he glanced down, his gaze unbothered as the standbys came and took the pieces away, carrying it off. After a few minutes, the next match was called, as the exams went on. However, the younger generation had what they just saw in their mind. Well, someone was liking it. Naruto gazed turned as he could feel the eyes on him. But he was not focusing on the weaklings, but the red-headed boy caught his attention. The boy was smiling at him. Gaara was all smiles. From the moment they met, Gaara could see that this one was different from the others, and brutally killing. It made Gaara happy, extremely so. He was one to kill for anyone looking at him funny, so Gaara was looking forward to fighting that one, to make himself feel alive. When Yugito's name was finally called, she made her way down there. Her opponent was Kiba Inuzaka. Kiba made his way down there, as Orochimaru stood by his side. He was indeed checking her out, with a goofy smile on his face, thinking that he was being charming. They were both given the go-ahead. However, before the match began, he smiled at her. "How about we use our words instead," he said. She looked at him. "How so?" she said, playing along with his ruse. "Well, we both know that I'm gonna win this," he said to her. "And I wouldn't want to mess up that pretty face of yours. How about we just take this out to a date?" "Oh, is that so? You want to take me out?" she asked. "Yeah, sure," he said. "As you can see, I'm a pretty nice guy, and I don't like to fight girls. So what do you say?" Kiba asked, a smile edging on his face. "Sure, why not?" she said. Kiba blinked in surprise. Yes, he was very so surprised that it actually worked. He didn't think that it would work. "So where are we going?" she asked. "Well, I know this one place." He kept on bumbling on. However, she started to smile. He thought that she was excited about their date. "You know, I've come across many like you before. Sexist pigs who believe that just because I'm a girl, I'm not strong enough to face them." However, she was gone. Kiba felt something behind him as he turned. "I enjoy seeing the look on their face when I do something like this." She punched him. Not using her blade, she simply punched him. Kiba felt all the air knocked out of his lungs. She lifted him off his feet with a single punch. She then turned and kicked him. His eyes went white. He slammed into the wall, out like a light. She stood there, doing that with ease and without any effort at all. Fortunately for him though, he wasn't dead, as Orochimaru rushed to his side. Kurenai sighed, as she was heavily disappointed in her student. Once again, his cockiness made him lose. However, even if it wasn't for that, Kurenai noticed that girl. She glanced over as Asuma saw her gaze. That Kumo girl was no ordinary ninja, of course. She was too fast. And the way she moved, there was no effort behind her movements. It was done with such ease to show that it was well practiced. Despite her age, she was something special. However, if she was, they already had their own special one here. And that was Naruto Namikaze. The rest of the matches went on before. They were all gathered as the finals were set. The numbers that were there, they started to draw their numbers. Sasuke was out of commission, so Kakashi drew a number for him. When their names were written on the board by Anko, the first match was going to be Shikamaru Nara versus Temari of the Sun. The second match was going to be Amoy versus Neji. The third match was going to be Karu versus Shino. The fourth match was going to be Naruto Namikaze versus Yugito. Hearing that, the both of them seemed to react. The next was going to be Sasuke Uchiha versus Gaara. And those who will fight the winner of the first match, and then they will move on to the next round. They were given 1 month to prepare and train. They were all dismissed except for Naruto, as both him and Karin were summoned by the Hokage. Time skip. Hiruzen ran a hand down his face before even greeting Naruto. He had spoken to the copy ninja, so he had an understanding of what exactly Naruto did, and it was bad. "What have you done?" Hiruzen said, as Naruto stood in the room, Karin by his side. "I'm assuming that you spoke to Hatake," said Naruto. "That means you're under the understanding of what I already did. So let us not bother to waste any time. As you can see, her name is Karin Uzumaki, and she's now a part of the Uzumaki clan," once again said Naruto, "with me as the clan head, as you already know." Hiruzen focused on the boy. "What about the other two?" he said. "I killed one of them. I gave the other one a message to give back to his leader." "And what was that message?" "Well, to simply take his opinion and go and screw himself. After all, it doesn't concern me." Hiruzen looked at Naruto for a long moment. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he asked. "Yes, I'm fully aware of what I've done. Something that is within my right. If you had any idea what they did to her, I'm sure that you wouldn't have given it a second thought either. Besides, the only reason why their leader and their people still draw breath is because of her," said Naruto, as Hiruzen gaze turned skeptical towards the boy. Despite the darkness that they've showered her with, the light that is emanating from her soul doesn't want me to exact revenge in her honor. Because if that was the case, I would have gone there myself and simply wiped them off the goddamn map," Naruto said with the utmost seriousness in his tone. Hiruzen never thought that Naruto could surprise him, but the way he casually speak about committing mass genocide, and the look in his eyes to show that without even a second thought, he would commit this act. "She's one of my people," said Naruto, "and I'm telling you now, if they decide to retaliate in an effort to try and take her away from me, I will not be going there with words. I know that you might have some upsetting feelings about this, but it's time that you sort it out. Putting emotions aside, if you allow this small minor nation to destroy a treaty that was signed many years ago, what would that say about you as the leader of this village?" Hiruzen narrowed his gaze. "What treaty are you talking about?" he said. "I am well aware of the treaty that was signed between the first Hokage and the leader of the Uzumaki clan back then," said Naruto. "In order for him to hand his daughter over, a marriage proposal was signed between himself and the leader there, and his daughter Mito Uzumaki married Hoshirama Senju, and they bargained to have a Uzumaki that possessed powerful chakra to be sent to the village because of what Mito did by taking the 9 tails and having the beasts sealed inside of her. Despite the clan being wiped out, that treaty has not been broken. Therefore, I am well in my rights to bring her to Konoha as the leader of the Uzumaki clan," said Naruto, "as you are well in your rights to refuse to get involved in anything that is currently going on." The way he said that, it was like he was hoping that Hiruzen did not get involved. Hiruzen feared that Naruto would turn the situation bloody really quickly. "That's enough with talks of genocide," he said. "I will not allow there to be any blows between the land of grass and Konoha, and you will stand your ground," he said in the utmost serious tone. "The Chunin exams prevail. Any consequences of death because of the waivers that were signed. But I'm telling you this right here and right now. You will not raise a hand to any grass ninja that may come to this village wishing to seek an audience with myself and possibly even you. Am I understood?" Hiruzen said. As Karin stood there, she was finding it hard to understand the conversation going on between these two. No, it wasn't the words, it was the way they spoke to one another. She knew that Naruto speak to people in a very disrespectful way that he did not respect. However, while his words were strong, they were not disrespectful towards the Hokage, meaning that he had some respect for him. One more thing though, she would have never guessed that the Hokage would allow anyone to speak to him like that in the first place. She had came across her leader on several occasions back at the Land of Grass, and there was no one that could speak to him like this without receiving deadly punishments. She did not know if it was because of how powerful Naruto was, and he was allowed to get away with certain things because of his strength, or perhaps the Hokage simply had a soft side for him. But she knew of this man, once hailed as a god of shinobi as well. For one to receive that title, it was a huge honor. Also known as a professor to possess all kinds of knowledge. As she watched, Naruto agreed to what he says. Time skip. He was showing her around the village. Well, to the places that he deemed important and nothing else. As a sensei had came by, saying that he was going to train the Uchiha. As Naruto said that he did not require his assistance. He said that he would be fine on his own. He then informed her that Kakashi had basically nothing to teach him. There was nothing that he needed to learn from him. He brought her to where he was constructing the mansion. Karin was shocked by the size. Beyond so. Meanwhile that was going on. Returning to the village, as a lone survivor, he informed the leader of the village of what had taken place. Karin was not killed in the Chunin exams. More so she was taken. The leader of the grass was not pleased by hearing this. Not one bit. Meanwhile, at Kumo, she stood in front of her leader. As she started to regale him with all that she was able to witness. The other two stand by as well. They had successfully made it in the finals, showing the might and strength of Kumo. The Raikage was intrigued. It wasn't often that Yugito herself praised someone's skills, especially someone her own age. So that meant that this boy was nothing to scoff at. Well, given his last name and who was his father, the Raikage wasn't at all surprised. However, this would be what changed the view of the foreseeable future on everything. He told her to go all out within the exams. Her failure will not be tolerated. Her might and power and strength are beyond any genin and chunin, even some jonins. And he told her to use that might to conjure up that strength and strike down her opponent, to show the other nations and all the new foreseeable clients that Kumo was the strongest and no other nation could ever stand in its way. She simply nodded as she made her way off to practice. Despite his words, she was just looking forward to fighting Naruto. She didn't know why. She's fought many people, but there was something different about him. Something that she was really looking forward to. Meanwhile that was going on, he's never saw his master so upset before. Kabuto Yakuji, ninja of Konoha, well, actual spy, regrouped with Orochimaru. He saw the strange marks. He asks because of his curiosity, but he's never seen such rage in the eyes of his master before. Orochimaru was pissed off, and he wanted information. Kabuto had heard a lot about the Namikaze, but nothing personal. So here he was now, trying to gather some more information. Orochimaru wanted to know everything, and the best way on how to take him out. The child was proven to be a hassle. Maybe he would be a worse hassle in the upcoming exams, and Orochimaru couldn't afford that. He possessed the ability to target long range, and with the number of weapons that he possessed, he could wipe out a good portion of their forces. The Sannin wouldn't allow that to happen, so he sent Kabuto to investigate on the matters of what was going on. Kabuto had watched him for the entire day. He was hanging out with a young red-headed girl as the both of them made their way, returning back to one of Konoha's finest hotels because his mansion was being built, as Kabuto was trying to gather as much as he could. Well, if there was one thing that he noticed so far, the red-headed girl Karin might be his weakness, because he did not seem to care for anyone else, given his attitude towards basically everyone. As Kabuto was watching, he suddenly felt strange all of a sudden, as a strange feeling washed over him when he noticed a shade to the hotel. The window that was on the balcony towards that rather expensive room, the shade moved. He was shocked when he saw the red-headed girl, her red eyes looking down towards him. Kabuto wondered if she was simply looking out in his direction, but her gaze was focused. He started to back away until he felt something behind him. Kabuto felt a tremor run down his spine when the voice spoke. "I knew there was something strange about you, but I didn't give it a second thought because you weren't important. But now you're on my radar." Kabuto turned with a shocked look on his face as their Naruto stood, his arms folded, his gaze fixated on Kabuto Yakushi. But guys, me and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off now, see you guys soon. Peace.